On the coast of the Bay of Chaleur is the legend of the Chaleur Phantom, a dead ship that serves as a ghost that can be seen almost every month of the year of something on fire. Allegedly, there was a pirate ship that was burned with all hands lost on board. And why this resonates with a lot of us here who are Twilight Zone fans on the channel is because an episode called Dead Ship was probably one of the best of that kind of somewhat failure of the full hour-long season of TZ, one which is called Twilight Zone. Now, Dead Ship, written by the great Richard Matheson, was episode 6, again, of season 4, the 1-hour version, based on a 1953 short story with the same title. It was inspired by the legend of the Flying Dutchman. In this episode, a spaceship crew discovers an wrecked replica of their ship with their own dead bodies inside. Now, Rod's narration goes like this. Picture of the spaceship E-89 cruising above the 13th planet of Star System 51. The year is 1997. In a little while, supposedly the ship will be landed and specimens taken, vegetable, mineral, and if any, animal. This will be brought back to overpopulated Earth, where technicians will evaluate them, and if everything is satisfactory, stamp their findings with the world inhabitable, and opening up yet another planet for colonization. These are the things that are supposed to happen. Now, a picture of the crew of the spaceship E-89. Captain Ross, Lieutenant Mason, Lieutenant Carter. 3 men who have just reached a place which is as far from home as it ever will be. 3 men in a matter of minutes will be plunged into the darkest nightmare reaches of the Twilight Zone. And of course, the top 3, the great Jack Klugman, the outstanding Ross Martin, and the talented Fred Beer played the 3 astronauts. Now, the space cruiser, again, crewed by Captain Ross, Lieutenant Mason Carter, is on a mission to analyze new worlds and discover if they are suitable for colonization. While orbiting a planet, Mason sees a metallic glint in the landscape in a very effective special effects scene. He conjectures that it might be a sign of alien life, but the pragmatic Captain Ross disagrees. Nevertheless, the cruiser prepares to land next to the mysterious object. Now, after landing, the men find that the gleaming comes from the wreck of a ship exactly like their own. Inside the craft, they discover their own lifeless bodies. Mason and Carter go numb with shock. Ross, struggling for an explanation, decides they have bent time in such a way as to get a glimpse of the future. He says to avoid their fate, they must refrain from taking off again. Mason and Carter fiercely object to this plan, especially once they find out that atmospheric interference prevents their contacting anyone for help, and that the frigid nighttime temperatures of the planet will force them to rapidly exhaust the ship's energy reserves on heat. Ross pulls rank to make them comply. Now, while looking out the viewport, Carter is transported back to the country lane on Earth. There he encounters people from his past. He runs to the house that his wife and he shared, and finds it empty except for a telegram notifying her that he has died in the line of duty. Carter is wrenched from his vision by Ross as Carter describes what he has just experienced. He realizes that the people he encountered are dead. Excuse me. Ross insists it was a delusion. The two then find Mason has vanished. He is having an emotional reunion with his wife and child. Now, according to Zichari's book on Twilight Zone and various published reports, Ross Martin, a great actor, played it in such a way that he knew that his wife and daughter were dead. So he's seeing the ghosts. Now, there's a beautiful scene where he's talking to his daughter, and his daughter saying, "Daddy, I've been looking at you for so long," and he knows that they're dead. And why would he be crying so much unless he knew that his wife and his child were dead? And the way Ross Martin plays this is just extremely, extremely heart-wrenching. If you see it once, you'll never forget it. And it's one of the top 10 scenes in Twilight Zone history. If you see it, you'll never forget it. Now, when Mason vanished, again, he has that emotional reunion. When Ross pulls him back, Mason's in a rage and wants to be allowed back, maintaining that his encounter with the family was real. From Mason's pocket, Ross pulls a newspaper clipping about the death of Mason's wife and child. The captain then poses a new theory about what is going on. The planet is inhabited by telepathic aliens who are using illusions to keep them from reporting back to Earth, thus averting colonization of their home. Ross says that if you take the spaceship back up to space, they should break the spell. Now, When the men take the ship back in orbit, Mason and Carter admit that Ross may have been right about the aliens. Ross insists on landing the craft again to gather foreign samples to bring back to Earth. When they land again, the wreck of their craft is still present. The successive disproving of Ross's theories, combined with intuitive knowledge of their condition, brings Mason and Carter to realization that are already crashed and are dead. And during the hour-long episode, half hour would have been too quick. You see Mason and Carter have their flashbacks or flash forwards while the captain does not. So it tells you there's something really weird going on. It's like the two lieutenants want to seek out peace, but he doesn't want them to do that. Like I said, again, their afterlife visits were real and their current situation is the illusion. Ross refused to accept this. He rejects his crew pleas to be allowed to embrace their deaths and be reunited with their loved ones, and says they will go over it again and again until he figures out an alternative explanation. In compliance with Ross's order, the men have returned to the moment where Mason first spotted the E-89's wreckage, doomed to relive the past several hours of investigation over and over. And this is tied into various TZ tropes where situations will repeat itself, whether good or bad, like in the Night Gallery's version of the waiting room. Now, the closing narration summed it up. Picture of a man who will not see anything he does not choose to see, including his own death. A man of such indomitable will that even the two men beneath his command are not allowed to see the truth. Which truth is that they are no longer among the living, that the movements they make and the words they speak have all been made and spoken countless times before, and will be made and spoken countless times again, perhaps even unto eternity. Picture of a latter-day Flying Dutchman sailing into the Twilight Zone. Well, some people were criticizing the ending narration because it was very obvious what was going on. It was a ghost ship, and you weren't going to find closure. But Rod, of course, sometimes would want to simplify it for the audience, and that's what he does. He basically reiterates the plot. Now, what was kind of ironic here, the model of the hovering spacecraft is that of a C-57D cruiser, which was a leftover prop from MGM's classic 1956 film Forbidden Planet. The crashed ship was a realistically painted model set. The prop was also used in the Twilight Zone episodes The Monster Due on Maple Street and Turd from the Sun. Now, a crew member shirt, also used in the episode On Thursday We Leave From Home, was offered at auction in late September 2015 by Profiles in History with an estimated value of $1,000 to $1,500, and was won with a winning bid of $1,600 by one Matthew G. Peroni, a private collector. Now, Klugman played Captain Ross, Ross Martin played Lieutenant Mason, Fred Beer as Lieutenant Mike Carter, Mary Webster as Ruth Mason, Tammy Maru as the young Jeannie Mason, Ross Elliott as Kramer, and Sarah Taft as Mrs. Nolan. So there's various hints within the show that this is not what it seems, especially the first flashback where it seems to be in flux. Is it really occurring, or is it just a flash forward or flashback to what's been going on? But again, the Ross Martin scene, it only lasts about a minute to 2 minutes, but Ross Martin was always known for taking the best of whatever he was given and making it so outstanding. I still consider him one of the most underrated actors of all time. And look at his performances in Columbo, Night Gallery, twice actually. It was just tremendous. Jack Klugman, again, he plays an evil character here, and it's kind of jarring because Klugman is known for his positive dramatic parts and comedic parts. But, he really pulls it. He's sort of like a win at all costs type thing, almost like a college head coach, as we say. So this episode, 5 stars out of 5. Not every season 4 episode is as strong as this. Jess Bell and the Incredible Word and Horace Ford and different ones that year, works. But the special effects are tremendous. The presentation is tremendous. You feel you're in a big science fiction thriller that's 2 hours long, and it's slow and fast at the same time. Once you see it, you know what I'm talking about. So that's my take on Death Ship. If you like what we're doing here, we're a TZ podcast. Let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share. Bye.